welcome back to another video. And today I've been thinking about school. So I have two kids. I have one of them that is going into year 2, so she's already done like a year or so at school, and I have another one that is going into her first year of school, so this will be her first time at school. So I've been thinking about ways that actually we can cut some of our costs in this area. My top frugal living tips for the back to school period. So there are lots of expenses around here, and I noticed this on a little shopping trip to get uniform the other day, and I thought, what ways can we actually save some money here? So hello, I'm Charlotte Jessup. This is the Looking After Your Pennies YouTube channel. I talk about everything from budgeting to frugal living to making money, investing, pensions, and basically anything else to do with your finances. I love sharing some of my favourite ways to save money. And over in my financial education membership, the Money Nook, this month has been all about supercharging your savings. We are thinking ahead, we're looking at Christmas, we're looking at holidays in 2022, and we are thinking about ways that we can boost our savings. So looking at back to school and looking at the costs that come with having kids at school, there has to be some ways to save some money. So I have put together my best tips in this video for you, and let's jump straight in. So number one is wait until October to buy uniform. Now, this doesn't necessarily work if you've got a kid that's just starting school. They need to have some clothes to start the year off with. But if you can wait a little bit longer, so let's say you can just squeeze your kid into last year's uniform just for a little while, then you're going to get some real bargains. The costs of uniform drop in the shops from October onwards, or probably from like the 10th of September, okay? It doesn't take long until the focus in the shops moves away from the back to school stuff and then starts looking at whatever seasonal event is coming up next. Another thing you can think about doing is buying next year's uniform now. So once the costs of the uniform drop, say like September, October time, can you buy them in a next size up, ready for next year? So you're taking benefits of this year's bargains before you get the prices go up, ready for the next back to school phase. You'll have the uniform all ready to go, and you will be able to pop your kids in it ready for September 2022. So thinking a little bit ahead if you can. So number 2 is an obvious one, and this is to shop secondhand. You'll be surprised at the amount of uniform items that you can find in charity shops. A lot of stuff is fairly generic, and as we know, kids grow really, really fast. So you might be able to pick up things like pinafores, summer dresses, trousers, shirts, various items of PE kit, trainers, things like that, all secondhand. eBay is another good place to look, particularly for, like I say, the more generic items and things like shoes even as well. You can get some branded, good quality shoes for less if you choose to shop secondhand. So number 3 is to take this just a little step further. So we're still looking at second-hand items here, but could you ask in local Facebook groups? Now this is better for those items where you maybe need the school logo, you need to have the right book bag, or the blazer with the logo on, or a certain tie. You might be able to find, if you ask in local Facebook groups, that there is somebody, a few doors down whose kid's grown out of stuff, or they bought a new tie and then they left a year later and it's still in good condition. So you'll be able to get those more specialised school-specific bits if you just ask nearby. I did this when my eldest started school. I actually asked in one of the school Facebook groups, and they were like, yeah, we've got like a spare PE kit, we've got a spare hat and all of these sorts of things, and we were able to, bagsy some of those things for essentially no money. You might need to make a donation to these things, but it's definitely worth looking around in your area to see if people have these things available. So number 4 is to speak to parents who are already at the school and see what you really need. I find that schools tend to be a little bit overzealous and cover all bases. So they will say things like, yeah, you need this for PE, and you need this many shirts and this many this and blah, 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 blah. But actually, in reality, you might not need the PE kit until the spring term, or you might not need to buy, outdoor trainers until the weather starts getting nicer. So if you speak to some parents who are already have kids at that school, you might get a better idea of what you really need. A good example of this was with my kid. They said she needed a hat with the school logo on it. When it actually came to having some decent sunny weather, the kids were just wearing any old hat, and we could have saved ourselves a fortune by just sending her in the one she's already got. So it's a good idea to speak to parents who have kids at the school. Again, you can ask in local Facebook groups and get the answers to these questions and just see what you actually need and when. It might be that you can just get the basics for now and then add the extra bits later on. You're probably going to need a basic set of kit though, but some of the extras you might be able to put off and, like I say, grabbing some sales or give you a bit more time to look into the second-hand items. So number 5 is clean up last year's stuff. Now it could be that your kid has grown out of uniform or, their shoes are now too small, so you need to replace some of those bits. But what about things like school bags and coats? Are those things still okay? Sometimes we find that our kids just want a new one, and actually if we probably just cleaned up the one they'd already got, they'd be perfectly satisfied. You could even do some, upgrades on some of these things, maybe put a few badges and stickers and things like that on their old backpack to make it more exciting, and then they'd be happy with those things. The same with pencil cases. It can be a good time now to go through things like, pens, pencils, felt tips, rubbers, all of these things, and see what actually they have before you head out to the shops and buy a whole new set of stationery. So number 6 is to make sure that you are using cashback apps. So things like Quidco and Top Cashback are all going to have some great deals there that can help you save some money. It might be that you'll be able to just get a little bit back on that stuff that you really do need to purchase, but that will all add up and make the difference. You might then be able to pop that in, the Christmas shopping pot, and it will save you a little bit of some of those other expenses later on. You might also want to consider using things like loyalty points. Do you have any club card vouchers? Do you have any Nectar points? All of these things can be used now to reduce some of the costs around going back to school. So number 7 is to ask the school if they have support around uniform costs for low-income families. So if you're really struggling and you don't have the money for this, it could be that there is a fund set up within the school to help people who are on low incomes. Now, I've worked in schools before, and also, I've had my kids go to school, and they have made me aware that these funds do exist. So you can reach out and speak to the school and ask if they have some sort of system for this. It could be that you need to make an application, or it could be that if your child receives any sort of support, such as like pupil premium, free school meals, that you're automatically entitled to these things. It can really help go at least part way towards some of these costs of getting your kid school ready. So number 8 is you could also ask the school if they have any lost property items. They could have a stash of things, or maybe even a school uniform shop where they sell off second-hand items or things that have been donated by parents from previous years. So it could be that they have some sort of system where parents are donating good condition uniform items that can then be sold on to new students that are coming in. And this can be a really cheap way of buying good quality uniform direct from the school as well. And you might then also be funding some of the work that is done in schools. So reach out, speak to reception about this, see if they have something like this available at your school. Number 9 looks not just at the uniform cost, but actually the ongoing cost of having a kid at school. And it's also worth checking with the school what sort of trips you can expect to happen over, at least the course of the year. It could be that the school has a regular setup of trips and, fun days and things like this, and you can create some sort of sinking fund to pay for those. A lot of schools obviously have had things change a little bit because of COVID, and we don't quite know what is going to happen in the future, but if you have a rough idea, if they turn around and say, yeah, it normally costs about £50 for the whole lot, then you can start putting some money aside to cover those things now. Now, the final thing to say is check to see if COVID has affected any of the policies. It could be that there are changes to uniforms, your kids might still need face masks and things like this when they go back, or it could be that things have changed with PE kit. So, for example, my daughter, their school changed the PE arrangements so that they were going into school in PE kit for 2 days a week. This meant that realistically, I probably needed less of the actual school uniform, but I did need more of the PE kit. Now, they didn't let this, be known to us before we started, so we obviously just bought in the typical quantities. However, it might be worth just sending out, sending a quick email and asking the question, has anything changed that we need to know about, so that you can adjust what you buy and what you have, send your kid in with on the first day. So there you go. Those are my top frugal living tips For you to cope with back to school, I always recommend having some sort of pot for your kids' school related costs, whether this is uniform, shoes, school trips, dinners, I don't know, all the other stuff that's associated with having kids at school, and just start putting some money aside into that pot. It will really just take the pressure off when they bring home that letter that said, oh yeah, we're going to this Roman museum and it's going to cost 20 quid. You can just go, okay, we'll take it out of the pot and the money is there. Anyway, I hope this has been helpful for you. Good luck if your kid is starting school, and good luck if you've got to drag them out of bed in September and make them, you know, get their uniform on and have their breakfast and brush their teeth, even if they've been going for ages. So I hope this has been helpful. Don't forget to hit the like, don't forget to hit subscribe, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.